Since it's a new year, I thought we'd just sit down and have a totally unscripted conversation about last year, the stuff that I reviewed, what I think about it now, the future of the channel, things that I want to review and do with the channel, where I want to take it this year. I also want to give you a health update, and if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I've struggled with some health issues. It's been kind of rough, and I don't really feel comfortable talking about it and sharing it online, but I also realized that if I don't talk about it, chances are that I'll just burn out. So I hope that that sounds fun, and for old time's sakes, here's a sip of the coffee. Last year I hit a point where I felt like I had to take my health more seriously. I had suffered from very severe abdominal pains, so pains in my stomach region. It was leaving me super drained. I couldn't work some days of the week. It was just a mess. And I started to seek more professional help for it basically last year. I got medical help, I got help with my diet, I also got physiotherapy and also stress management help. But the medical treatment and the diet hasn't been that helpful. And to be honest, I don't feel like the medical doctors that I've seen, and I've seen quite a few, haven't taken my problems very seriously. They just say, yeah, it's stress probably. And as a therapist, you know, I don't have a problem with that theory. The problem I have is that the medical doctors, they don't really follow up on it. They don't really give me any treatment plan that they then follow up on. So that's been actually a huge source of frustration for me. The fact that I haven't been able to work some days of the week because I've had so much pain. So that's been kind of rough, but I don't want to alarm you. I am slowly feeling better, and I think that if I can just balance things a bit better, you know, not have these super stressful periods where I just work way too hard, way too long hours, and I don't sleep well and I eat wrong. I think that a lot of the pains will subside, go away over time. I am hopeful in the future, but yeah, it's just been rough. And I think last year was just a year where I started to take it more seriously, started to really work on turning it around. And thank you everybody who has been supportive. Your support is all I need. Next up, I want to talk about the videos that I made in 2022 and give you some of my updated thoughts on the pieces of gear that I reviewed. First thing I reviewed in 2022 was my own custom Eurorack case. I think I use my smaller Eurorack case a lot more than my big one. The big one is more like a library. It's a bit impractical to use for many of the like smaller builds that I want to do. Currently, I'm doing like this drum machine thing. Then I reviewed the Malevolent from PWM. It's the super aggressive sounding synthesizer, semi-modular. And I think I was actually quite critical in the video, and it shows that this wasn't really the synth for me. It's not a sound that I'm ever really looking for. But if you read the comments, you'll notice that a lot of people actually enjoy that kind of more harsh, aggressive tone. Last year, 1010 Music also came out with 3 different nano boxes, and I have different opinions for each one. So it's the Fireball, the Lemon Drop, and the Razzmatazz. The Fireball is probably the one that I like the least because it's a wavetable synth, and there's just so many wavetable synths out there. And then there's the Lemon Drop, and in my review I was quite positive about it, and I still am. I feel it's the most unique of the nano boxes. And then there's the Razzmatazz, which is the weird one. I still feel that the firmware needs a bit of work, and I think that goes for all of the 1010 Music products. But the Razzmatazz is interesting. It's fun to use, but the question is it worth the money? So yeah, I'm kind of torn on it. And here's a product that I actually use quite a lot. It's the Nifty Keys. So if you want a keyboard Eurorack case, the Nifty Keys is fine. And it's also pretty much the only option out there that is currently being sold, unless you can get the Waldorf one used, because I don't think it's sold in stores anymore. Now before the next one, buckle your seatbelt because you're in for some synth drama. The Syntact. Back when it was released, there was a ton of drama online, the same old like, why didn't you just make a new machine drum? Or marvelously well thought out hot takes like,
Electron is just taking things from their previous machines and putting it into a new one.
But when we fast forward to the end of the year, I think most people can agree that it's a really solid product that also got some really good upgrades this year. And then I reviewed the Roland Ira Compacts, the small Rolands. And my opinion still stands. I think that they're fun. And the internet seems to largely agree with me. And then I got to go to Superbooth, which is always a highlight of the year for me, and I plan on going in 2023. This is Europe's biggest synth and music tech event, and as you can see, it's also quite different. What do you give the man who has everything? The looks, the vibes, the cool synths. What do you get him?
An Oberheim.
Well, I don't have an Oberheim in my backpack. I do have a little synth book. So
Thanks, BoBeats.
I'm starting up. It's coffee time.
And before my summer break, I reviewed the East Beast and the West Pest from Create Audio, two affordable synths made in collaboration with Pittsburgh Modular. Still, definitely worth checking out. I haven't changed my opinion on them. And then the SP404 got a huge update. I might have played like a tiny role in making it happen. I pushed hard for certain updates. I know that the community did too. So together we made stuff happen. That was a lot of fun. Then summer came around and we did Summer of Synths. I think we had 7 attendees, a lot of fun, a lot of different videos, and I hope to do Summer of Synths this summer again. So make sure to leave a comment letting me know who I should invite as a guest for Summer of Synth 2023. Then we have the Poly and Play, and I poured my heart and soul into that review. I think I also touch on many of the problems with the Poly and Play, even though I really like it. And some of the problems were fixed with a firmware update where we got the export functionality, so you can actually export stems. I also made a discussion video about why people go DAW-less, why they don't want to use a computer to make music. You know, screens and multifunction devices are everywhere. Everything demands your attention, from the smartphone to the smart fridge. And frankly, many of us find that exhausting. And then I made the Korg Drumlogue review. And the Drumlogue was this highly anticipated drum machine that people just wanted to love, but a lot of people didn't. And I think the main issue here is that it just had too many sample-based tracks. Like if we imagine that the Drumlogue came out with 4 analog engines and the rest were digital voices instead of sample-based ones, I think that the reception would have been totally different. Then I made a video that was quite anxious about releasing, the video where I talk about how I make money as a synth YouTuber. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I explain pretty much the business side of synth YouTube and how I make my money and if it was worth going full time and all of that. Then we have what is probably the meme synthesizer of the year, the Minilogue Bass. When I started talking to Korg about this, I thought that they had made changes to the Minilogue, like changed the filter so that it would sound more bassy, but it's basically just your normal Minilogue with a nice paint job. Whether or not you like it, I quite like it. So it's a limited edition Minilogue with new presets, nothing else. Yeah, that's pretty much what I said in the video. Then we have the Sonicware sample track, and this is a review that was very difficult to make because the firmware just wasn't finished. Now, in terms of unfinished firmware, there are different tiers of unfinished firmware. Some firmware just has a few bugs, you know, a few small things needs tweaking, and you just pray and hope that the company will sort this. And then there's firmware that just isn't finished. While I was working on the sample track review, I was sent new firmware, and sometimes it introduced new bugs, and sometimes it removed a feature that was previously there, so it was just a little bit of a headache reviewing it. Now, since the review, my opinion has changed. Sonicware has actually released some firmware updates that improves on the sample track and also introduces the live looping functionality, which is kind of nice. So I think that the sample track has a bright future ahead of it. Looking back at all the videos that I did last year, I realized that it's the first year that I stopped stressing so much. I feel like I've been running and chasing something for years. Even prior to starting the channel, I was chasing something professionally. I was working way too hard. I had 3 jobs. And last year, I think I just decided that, you know, I'm gonna take things a bit slower in my pace. There's no reason to rush. There's no reason to stress myself out. And even though, of course, I stressed quite a bit, but yeah, I just stopped chasing, you know. I took my time and try and enjoy the journey a bit more, and I'm gonna continue doing that in 2023. So now we've come to the part of the video that I dread the most, me asking explicitly for your help. If you enjoy my content, if you want to see me make more of it, if you want to see me exploring synths, music tech, make long in-depth videos, but also short funny ones, discussion videos, and all the stuff that I make here on the channel, please consider supporting it over on Patreon. I don't want to do a big like pitch here. I don't want to sell it to you like you get all of these cool stuff. No, I just want to say, if you want to help me out, go to Patreon, support my videos over there. I know that some of you can't for various reasons or just won't. That's totally cool. If you support me with a cup of coffee every month, it means that I can spend less time hunting for sponsorships. It means that I can spend less time worrying about my financial situation. It alleviates a lot of stress, and it just helps me focus on what I'm here to do, which is entertain and educate you all about the latest and greatest of music tech. So if you want to see this channel grow and improve, Patreon is a great way to do just that. I watched Jeremy Redmond's recordings video of his year in synthesizer hell, and Jeremy is a good friend of mine, and many of the struggles that he experienced is things that I experienced too.
So I've been thinking about this a lot lately because people who make synthesizer videos online on YouTube get a lot of shit for being shills. People will be like, oh, well, they sent the gear to them and therefore they can't be unbiased in the review. And I've been like, how do we fix this? I don't really know how this ecosystem is supposed to work. And I kind of don't want to do it anymore because it is so messy to like figure out exactly what the ethical way of doing this is while still maintaining professional standards and also making a living. It's all very, very messy, and I haven't figured out how to fix it yet.
Being a synth YouTuber basically puts you in this awkward spot where you need to acquire new gear to test out, to review, and then spend weeks or even sometimes months, like I did with the SP404, just learning it, understanding it, so I can inform you all about how it works, what it can do and what it can't do. And then a lot of the time when you press publish, you get disappointed because the viewership is just not what you expected. You spent so much time and energy on something and the viewership just isn't there. Maybe because the title is wrong, maybe the thumbnail, or maybe you're just late on the ball. Like I was with the Poly and Play that I spent so much time figuring out, and I think I made a really good review, but it just didn't perform well in terms of views. And then one morning when you're scrolling in the comment section because you want to keep up with what all of you are saying, somebody calls you a shill even though you weren't even paid to make the video, or if you were paid. Like, is that necessarily a big problem for artists to get paid? But even if you were paid, the pay is so bad that it doesn't really amount to any reasonable hourly rate for a professional, let alone somebody with a huge audience. Then you try and solve this mess by buying a piece of gear, spend weeks understanding it and reviewing it and shooting a video and all of that, blah blah blah, and then you get called biased anyway, because maybe you are biased. Maybe we are people with opinions about synths and music tech, and that's why you're watching, why most of you are watching. And even if you end up feeling okay with all of this, it's still the fact that you've now marketed something to tens of thousands of people, and you're not getting paid a reasonable hourly rate. And that is because the synth scene is super small. Only a handful of channels can sustain themselves full-time. Mine is one of them, but it is a lot of hard work. And while I was watching the video back with a cup of coffee, I realized that I'm not sure where I was going with this segment. Other than to say that, yeah, the struggle is real. Being a YouTuber is difficult. There's a lot of frustrations. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of room for improvement, not just on the part of us, the YouTubers, but also on the part of the companies that we work with, on the platforms that we publish on, and also in the way that you, the viewers, support our work. I know firsthand how difficult it is to get anywhere as a creative. And even though I've succeeded, and I do this full-time since 2020, what a year to start doing YouTube full-time, I had imagined that things would go slightly different, but yeah. But we are where we are right now, and I'm still very thankful for everything that has happened. But regardless, I know that I've struggled, so I know how much of a struggle it is for even smaller creators out there. And I guess I just wanted to say that. Hope it makes sense. So before we talk about the future of the channel, so what does the future hold for this channel here? Well, let me tell you that I am constantly every year reevaluating whether I should continue doing this full time or doing something else. And I think that's healthy. I think it's good to take a step back and just look at things, whether or not it's what you want to do or if you want to be doing something else. And every year so far I've come to the conclusion that BoBeats is fun and I want to continue doing this. But I also realized that I can't keep doing it at the pace and the level that I'm doing it. I can't keep pushing myself beyond my limits. So if last year was the year where I took a step back and tried to relax a bit more, tried and focus on the things that I wanted to do and not stress myself out as much, this year will be the year where I try and work smarter and not harder. And there's a couple of things that I want to do. I want to go to Super Booth. I want to review the Erica Synths Percons. That's on my wish list. I just recently picked up all of the Sonicware Liven synths, so I want to do a comparison between all the 4 Liven synths that are out there. And I also want to continue to be the channel that hosts other YouTubers, smaller synth channels. So hopefully we can do Summer of Synths again this year. So be sure to let me know who I should invite and why. But beyond all of this synth content, the music tech focused content, I also want to explore other things online. So I am looking to do some sort of course. So I have 2 different ideas. So either I'm gonna do like a synth beginners course, I think, or something totally different. And it's probably gonna be something totally different because I want to do something else online as well. Something that more of you could benefit from, not just the people who want to know about the latest and greatest in music tech. So I'm strongly considering creating a course about motivation, how to find creative purpose and drive. And I think because I have a unique blend of skills, I'm a YouTuber, I'm also a psychotherapist, I used to be a university professor, I taught at university for 10 years. So I want to blend all of these things together into a course that helps you move forward creatively, and not specifically in regards to music or synths or any specific creative endeavor, but rather holistically. How do we find purpose? How do we find meaning? How do we feel motivated to create something and move forward in our lives? So you let me know what you think about that course idea down in the comment section, because ultimately I want to be here and give you all value. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for being a part of my community. Thank you for all the support. I know a lot of you have been supporting for a long time. I owe so much to all of you, and I just wanted to get that across. Don't take it for granted. I'm gonna keep producing fun, educational, inspirational content here on YouTube, and you let me know what you want to see out of me in 2023. And I hope that 2023 will be the year where we turn things around, that things starts to get better, because 2020, 2021, we had the pandemic. 2022, we kind of thought that things would get better, then boom, there was a war in Europe. It's not very far from where I live, actually. It's much closer than you might think when you look at the map. And of course, that's something that affects me personally. I have friends over there, but also it's something that affects the entire world, destabilizes everything. And I just hope that we look back at 2023 and we say that, yeah, that was the year where things turned around to the better.